Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The February 16th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Education is called to order. Newark Unified has opened its boardroom for in-person meetings and will follow the state's and Alameda County's safety guidelines for public gatherings. Please refrain from attending in person if you have any COVID-related symptoms. Members of the public may observe the meeting via the NUSD YouTube channel, live transmission on Comcast Channel 26, or in person here in the NUSD boardroom. Spanish translation will be available via Zoom. The public will have an opportunity to address the Board of Education regarding non-agendized and agendized items with a live audio-only comment via Zoom and with advance notice and requested by email. A written comment by submitting a speaker card here in the room, or live in-person comments by submitting a speaker card with the executive assistant. Ms. Croce, roll call, please.
Yes, thank you. Student Member Torres is not present at this time. Member Nguyen?
Here.
Member Jones?
Here.
Member Jeong?
Here.
Vice President Hill?
Here.
And President Thomas?
Here.
Thank you.
Next, we move to the approval of the agenda. Does anyone wish to pull any items? Yes?
Yes, I'd like to pull all of the minutes, 10.9 through 10.15. There are some items that were missed on some of the minutes, and I would just ask that I would like staff to review them and give you guys an opportunity to finish making the corrections.
Okay. 10.9 through 10.15.
So are we pulling the consent agenda items right now?
Well, any agenda item now gets pulled.
No, this is pulling from the agenda. I'm going to discuss it because it's not here.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we're removing it, but we're not pulling it out.
Or we're removing them, not
Yeah, we're removing them.
removing them. Oh,
Yes.
that's good. Okay. So next, yes?
10.2, the science camp for BGI. That is actually, I just received a text message from one of the 5th grade teachers. That is not their camp. That is not their week. So it's not for BGI. I don't know what school is that is for.
So should we pull it entirely from the agenda, or do you want to make that comment during the meeting? In case it's a minor correction to the...
It might just be a correction of a school site. And if that's the case, then I can make the comment at that time and find out who the school, what the school site is.
So if you pull it during the meeting. Okay, great.
Yeah, I can't see any of the attachments. Oh, I'm trying to log out. Can you?
For this one?
Do you see the attachment?
What do you mean?
Like this, the attachment. Do you see?
Oh, no, the attachment is not even there.
Given that the field trip is in April, I suggest we just pull it and we allow staff to do due diligence, make sure everything's set and ready to go, and we'll bring it in 2 weeks.
That sounds great.
So to reiterate, we are pulling 10.2 and 10.9 through 10.15.
Yes.
With that, I would entertain a motion for approval of the agenda with those adjustments.
I move to approve.
I'll second that.
Made by Member Nguyen, seconded by Member Jones. Please vote. Ms. Croce,
It should be. Thank you. Yes, voting's open. Thank you.
we aren't seeing it on our screens.
Seeing it?
We can do a roll call vote.
Yes.
That's okay. I think it's opening now. My apologies. You should be able to see it.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Croce.
And one more. Remember when yours didn't register?
It went through, I
did
had
go through.
voted already.
Okay.
It was a yes.
Okay. Thank you. 5 ayes.
Ms. Croce, are there any public comment on closed session items?
There were none.
Seeing none, we will be recessing to closed session, where we will discuss 3.1, public employee discipline dismissal release, 3.2, conference with labor negotiators, employee organizations, NTA and CSEA, conference with labor negotiators, employee groups, NUMA, unrepresented supervisors, and contracted management, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, one case, public employee appointment, employment, title interim superintendent. With that, we're recessed to closed session. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the February 16th regular meeting of the Newark Board of Education. We have just returned from closed session. No actions were taken. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, this is quite an occasion. We have had member Jeong with us now for 3.5 years? 4 years. And it's time for him to move on and move to another town, and we are dearly going to miss him. So I would open it up for staff and board members to recognize Member Jeong for his service and to wish him well as he moves on. So let's start with Student Board Member Diego.
Okay, I feel a little bit bad because I didn't actually write anything up, but it still had the same outcome. Again, another person leaving. I feel like that's a trend here, but I'm so sad to see you go because it was a fun time sitting next to you, especially all the fun conversations we had. You taught me about the AI typing bot, which I never heard about, and then I was like, oh, what is this? And now it's really a big thing. So I was like, oh, so he knew about it first, and then he told me, and then now I'm just very interested in it actually. And so I'm very proud of all the work that he's done for the board, and I'm very happy that I got to serve with him, and I'm very sad that he's going to leave, but I know that whatever life brings on him, he's going to do well. Thank you.
Student Board Member Torres, have you been using ChatGPT?
No, because I'm no, I can't. I did look at it,
Are you
though.
sure you didn't use it for your college entrance exam?
No,
essay?
that wasn't November. I wish, though.
No, I'm just teasing. I'm glad that you had a wonderful rapport with Member Jeong. I also did as well, and I just wanted to thank Member Jeong for your dedicated service to our students and our community the last 4 years. You were appointed in January 2019, and I joined you shortly after in September of 2019. We were both elected together in 2020, and I will always cherish the support and daily reminder you gave me throughout campaigning. You pushed me hard daily to get out and walk door to door, and for that I am grateful. It has been an honor and privilege to serve with you. We have had to make some really difficult decisions together, along with Member Martinez, on school consolidation and restructuring the district's finances to help eliminate the past structural deficits. We also supported Superintendent Triplett and staff through the pandemic, distance learning, and bringing students back to in-person learning when our neighboring districts did not. Together, we have worked diligently with Superintendent Triplett and staff to move this district forward. You have contributed to the positive progress, which included the spending of the remaining bond monies on facility improvements at the school sites, approving the STAR Academy and environmental literacy and dual language immersion initiatives. You also were present at site PTA meetings and listened to our community members. Thank you for supporting the students by donating to coding and rocketry initiatives, giving students feedback on their coding projects, as you are a strong advocate for 21st century learning. I am especially sad to see you go. I will miss our occasional chats. I am grateful for the friendship that we have established through our common interest in helping to serve our students and the Newark community. Thank you again for your service, and I wish you all the best as you move on to your next adventure.
I just want to say that I do appreciate everything that you have done during your time here. You have definitely had an impact on the board and decisions that have been made. And as a teacher and now a board member, working, alongside now, but hearing from you in the past as a teacher, and I have really appreciated the insight and your knowledge and your ability to just see things so clearly. So thank you very much and good luck.
So I do have a prepared remark that I want to directly address to the students, but I will let everybody finish first.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Member Jeong. So you preceded me. As you mentioned, you've been on the board for 4 years, and I know that you've gone through a lot since then. You were on before the pandemic and then through the pandemic and going through uncharted territory. And then as Member Wen had mentioned, the whole return to in-person and the challenges. And so we faced a lot of challenges, and you played a number of different roles through that, and including acting as president, but also just, I know that you've made a lot of effort to try to get additional information from the community and also from other districts to bake into our decision-making process. And so it's been greatly appreciated, and wish you the best in your in the next steps of your journey. And who knows, maybe we'll hear about future service up in, is it Redwood Shores? Okay, all right, so thank you.
Thank you, Bowen. I was so pleased to be part of the board when we appointed you, and when I worked with you earlier. We were tackling really difficult issues, but most recently, we've also been working together on several different but difficult and equally challenging issues. Your questions and your comments have always added to the conversation here at the dais and brought a needed perspective to the discussions. So thank you for your service to the district, and best wishes for your future endeavors, Bowen. We do have one person from the audience that would like to comment, Mr. Ray J. Rodriguez.
This is a good man you guys picked right here. Good evening. Bowen, the toughest thing that I had to deal with after you came on was pronouncing your name. Okay? And Zhang or Sean or anyway, I was looking at Member Thomas when we were, President Thomas, when we were picking you, and when you decided to put in, and I'm wondering, why is this young man, no kids in the school, not that much history at Newark Unified, want to serve on the school board? And I think you've mentioned that a lot of people have said being on a school board is probably the worst position you can ever have. But you came highly recommended by my good friend who just passed away recently, Mrs. Vivian Larson, Mrs. Larson, and also Mayor Nagy and a bunch of others. So it was a pleasure working with you, and a little upset at you for beating my, I think, almost 20-year mark of having most votes in an election, and you just went past me, okay? And you've been a blessing, in my opinion. You've been a blessing to Newark Unified, to our kids, and to the board. You're very professional, hardworking, always made board meetings, and you're always available. And we've gone through different superintendents, bringing on a new superintendent, and through pandemic and everything, and you stuck right in there and helped us get through it. So I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and your service, and I want to congratulate you on your just recently getting married, not too long ago. And I brought some See's candy. It's nuts and chews. I hope you like it. For you, it's mostly for your wife, but if you want to have some, you can. And I bring them in. Anyway, Bowen, you're awesome. Thank you again for your service. And hopefully this isn't the last. In your new community, you'll make yourself available. I'm sure you will. And I'm sure you're going to be serving kids somewhere else. And because what you have to offer, just too much to set aside. You need to, stay involved, okay? I appreciate you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Before you give your message to students, because I think that's a really appropriate way to end your tenure, is speaking directly to students. Staff do have some words that we'd like to share as well. I want to start by sharing a little bit just about you, because I think your history has really contributed to your tenure as a board member here. You moved to the United States with your family in 2005 at the age of 17. You spent more than a decade of your career in the tech industry working for various startups that eventually became household names. You currently work for a cloud data platform company called Snowflake. You have your bachelor's degree from UC Berkeley. I won't hold that against you. No, I'm joking. No emails, please. With a double major in applied math and computer science, and you earned your master's degree from Carnegie Mellon University. Because of those experiences, some of these accomplishments that you have done in NUSD are really speak to your personal history. So things like sitting on more than 17% reserve now as a budget in NUSD. When you first started as a board member, that certainly was not the case. You successfully helped the district navigate the pandemic, supported us in our really reflecting on our math pathways and the needs of students, starting our first dual language program, and how important that is to our community. You sat on SELPA and liaison committees. And most importantly, that STEM initiative that you supported, attending every Star Lab presentation I think we've offered here as a district, really gaining momentum around rocketry coding and maker spaces. And so we appreciate you deeply for your service. We do have a certificate and some flowers here that we'd love to bestow upon you. And then we would love to hear what you have to say to our students. So if we could just give a round of applause, please. One for the good of the group.
There you go.
There we go.
I think you needed to give him a digital file.
Thank you.
So when I first got onto the board, I made it very clear that I was here for the students. So I think it will be fitting for me to directly address the students before at my last school board meeting. So students, today I want to offer you just 3 pieces of advice that I learned along the way. Not a big deal, just 3 pieces of advice. The first thing I want to discuss with you is about handling failures in life. Life brings many disappointments, setbacks, and failures. How you handle them determines where you are going in your life. When I first moved to this country, I only spent 1.5 years in high school. By the time when I applied to colleges, my limited credits earned in California public school made me ineligible to apply to any UCs. Still, with a stellar academic record, I applied to some dream colleges, such as MIT, Princeton, and University of Pennsylvania. And due to the highly competitive nature of the admission processes at these schools, I failed to get into any of them, and I was devastated. My only option at that time was to enroll in a local community college and hope to transfer to a top UC in 2 years. And in the next 2 years, I put aside my disappointment from my failures and instead focused my energy on excelling in every course I took in the college. I felt like a student that always had a lot to prove as a new immigrant. And 2 years later, I graduated from a local community college as the summa cum laude and was heading to Berkeley as a math major. Life sometimes throws curveball at you. Right before I entered Berkeley, my family, just like millions of American families in 2008, lost our home in the middle of the financial crisis. We were technically homeless. I suddenly felt that the enormous obligation to my family fell squarely on my shoulder, since I was the hope of the family. I told my dad to get a job that just paid and ran a small place nearby. Once I get out of Berkeley, I would take care of the rest. Again, I was a student with a lot of stake in my studies. And unlike many other students where college is merely a social experience, it mattered a lot more to me. Throughout my years at Berkeley, I only attended party twice. Instead, I stayed late night in the computer lab to finish my assignment and get ahead in my study. As a result, I knew what Berkeley looked like 3 a.m. in the morning. I knew what Berkeley looked like at 4 a.m. in the morning. And I knew what Berkeley looked like at 5 a.m. in the morning. One semester before my graduation, I landed a job that paid me $85,000 when most of my fellow students had no job prospect in the shadow of the financial crisis. And 1 year later, in 2012, I became a homeowner in Newark. If you think my life from this point on will just be cruising along, then you are very mistaken. After working for several years, I decided to go back to get my master's degree. And in the middle of my study, I took a leave of absence to start a company with my former coworker. We were essentially building the TikTok before TikTok was a thing. As a first-time entrepreneur, I made so many rookie mistakes. And in 2017, my company failed spectacularly. That failure was well known throughout my social circle and professional circle. I felt I was publicly humiliated and publicly embarrassed. My school sent me an ultimatum, and I had to go back. Trying my best not to think about the embarrassment, I again focused on my study and honing my skills. And this time, due to my unique background of being an engineer and an entrepreneur, I landed a job again at a fast-growing cloud computing company called Snowflake way before my graduation, and the rest is history. Students, when getting knocked down in life, don't be depressed. Take it as a learning experience and try to grow from it. You learn and grow way more from failures than from successes and victories. And for this reason, it's far better to experience failure at a younger age than at an older age. Failures make you humble and curious. Sometimes, failures are inevitable when you try to challenge yourself to go to the new level. If you never failed, then you never tried. And what doesn't kill you can indeed make you stronger, which will lead to the second topic I want to discuss with you tonight, which is about gains and losses. Back to my new employer, after I joined them, the company was growing rapidly. In the middle of the pandemic, our company became a public traded company via, at that time, the biggest software IPO in history. When our stock made the public debut, my shares in the company were worth around 10 million, and I was 32. Yes, at the age of 32, I had a net worth of more than $10 million. However, after experiencing the ups and downs in life, I didn't get too caught up in the moment. Rather, I treat it merely as a mile marker in the marathon. And no marathon runner will cheer or celebrate just because he or she passes a mile marker. I continue as usual to develop my skills as a professional during my day job and continue to faithfully execute my duty on the school board. Nothing really changed for me. And then came 2022, when historic inflation prompted the Fed to raise interest rates, which caused a steep decline in the stock market. In a short span of 6 months, I lost almost half of my fortune. However, I wasn't bothered at all. The huge swing in fortune didn't impact my emotions much. I kept doing what I'm doing. Life in the short run is a swinging machine because it swings like a pendulum in any direction with or without good reasons. But in the long run, life is a weighing machine since it displays exactly how much you weigh. Students, your long-term fortune is the cumulative result of your daily actions and decision-making. If you develop good habits and have discipline, in the long run, you will be fine regardless what happens in the short run. And for me, as long as I keep growing my skill set, it's only a matter of time before I recover all my lost fortunes. The last but not the least topic I want to talk to you about is focusing on the only things that truly matter. Sorry to inform you, you are growing up in a world that has way more noises and distractions than the one I was raised in. Therefore, it's critically important for you to focus on things that truly matter. Humans have limited energy. We are not designed as a species to do many things well simultaneously. But we are designed as a species to do one or two things extremely well. Identify the things that matter the most, and everything else is really just a distraction. For me, wearing fancy clothes or driving fancy cars doesn't matter. It didn't matter to me before I got onto the school board because none of you knew who I was. It doesn't matter to me after I get onto the school board because a lot of you know who I am. For you, the number of likes you get on social media and TikTok doesn't matter. And doing well at school is the only thing that matters. Everything else is distraction. Focus brings clarity and eliminates noises. It prevents you from being complacent when things are going well and prevents you from being depressed during tougher times. It helps you insulate yourself from the short-term gains and losses that you surely will experience in life. Focus on the things that truly matter in your life so you don't live in the results of other people's thinking. Your life is so short, so don't bother wasting your time living somebody else's life. Stay focused and stay curious, and I wish you all the best in your future. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bowen. That was just not for the students only. I think it's for all of us. So next we move on to employee organizations, NTA, Mr. Bruzy.
Board Member Jeong, I wish you luck on your future endeavors, and thank you for your service for Newark School Board. Good evening, Board. The February 6 actions at the Board to remove the superintendent may or may not have been a surprise to many. However, it had happened. In moving forward, the Newark Teachers Association supports the Board Act to seeking a new superintendent. In seeking a new superintendent, NTA believes that the board will do what is necessary to see that the Newark students deserve the best. We believe that this new direction will allow Newark to invest in quality teachers for every student by providing professional pay to attract and keep the best educators in Newark and to improve the respect educators are given in order to retain and attract the best. NTA also believes that the board needs to invest in equitable support for students because students deserve to have an adequate nurse, mental health services, counselors, and support staff. NTA also believes that the board needs to invest in great schools for our community because students need a classroom that is properly ventilated, heated, cold, because great schools can support Newark students and their families. It's unfortunate that this change happened in the middle of negotiations. We strongly believe that the board needs to direct its team, to reach a tentative agreement that will allow Newark to retain our current staff who are waiting to determine whether they should stay or seek employment elsewhere. An agreement will allow Newark to recruit highly qualified educators by providing a competitive salary. With the new board, there will be a new direction, a new investment because Newark students deserve the best. We are hoping that this can be taken care of. And thank you for the time. And bye.
Thank you, Mr. Abruzzi. Do we have anyone from CSEA? Nobody from NUMA. Okay, thank you. Next, we move on to public comment on non-agenda items, and we have several speakers. Ms. Lucia Gutierrez.
All right. Member Jeong, thank you for your service. Congratulations and best of luck on your future endeavors. So it is my understanding that there are changes that have been made to the agenda structure, which is also very interesting because I recall Aiden stating that, stating over and over during Member Nguyen's presidency that she was not allowed to make changes to the agenda without prior discussion with the board and approval from the board. It's interesting how certain rules only apply to certain people. Now that Aiden has found his accomplices to do whatever he wants, he and the board majority are in his favor. However, Nancy, I thought you were better than that. Being that you and your sixth board member are such sticklers about the rules, I would think the same rules would apply to everyone. But I see that is not the case. Well, as a member of this community, I insist that you play all by the same rules that you preach. And I disagree with you changing the structure of the agenda. And when it comes to public comment, it should be, when it comes to public comment, the public should be given the opportunity to comment on the changes that are going to be provided at the agenda. During Member Nguyen's presidency, the decision to change the structure was done to be more inclusive of the community, allow people to participate in the board meetings, and allow them to have a voice about the decisions that are going to be affecting their students. Staff assisted in the decision to help with this change, and they actually did it with you in mind, Nancy. They acknowledging that you would like to follow what other districts are doing. They did that. They looked at other districts and tried to follow path. Yet you were still not happy because your sixth board member did not like the change. So instead of considering the opinion of the community as a whole, and all you do is care about is your friends. I hope today that you follow your own rules and discuss changes regarding the agenda structure before you make changes on your own whim. Thank you.
We have, there. Mr. Eric Tam.
Hello. Hi. Hi, board. New members and old. Yeah, member Jeong, just wanted to say first, thank you for everything. I think we agreed to disagree on many things about policy, but I understand your heart. I think I still remember the times when you voted no against the populace or the majority, one for the marketing and one for the changes to the auditing committee. So I really appreciate that. I know that your heart is for the students and your speech shows that. So thank you. Came here to say thank you. I guess a couple of things since I have more time. It was very interesting on Thursday to hear a very passionate crowd. I also am for fiscal responsibility and transparency. So, if the board can release the redacted version of the investigation, I'd be all for it. At the same time, I would love to have my CPRAs completed. That'd be, applying rules and laws to everybody as the same, and hopefully the new superintendent or interim superintendent will help me. I guess I was also the guy who had too much time to research into HVACs. But since you guys mentioned the HVACs, I would love to read the verdict from the class action lawsuit, if you guys weren't sure. So it was actually thrown out in March of 2022. But the district judge said, Garner identified several potential misrepresentations, so he successfully states a fraudulent misrepresentation claim, but his other claims are faulty, so I must dismiss them. If Garner wants to amend those flaws, he should amend. So just keeping everyone updated, there was a second class action lawsuit that was filed in December 2022. Why I bring that up is because I think it was interesting how community members were dismissed when those claims were brought to the board and staff. And it's good to kind of have a district judge actually judge the data and claims by and rule that there were faulty issues. And I would
30
love
seconds.
to, no, thank you, just see those final CPRAs to understand kind of what was publicly said to the community and what was actually, yeah, done. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Brian Foster.
Thank you, President Thomas and members of the board. First, I want to say, Member Jeong, I agree with everything you said with your message to the students, and I hope that the school district adopts them. I come to you once again to update you on the status of the district's actions against me. I am presenting to your new leadership on the board and here on staff an opportunity to correct an injustice that the district is perpetrating on me and which is endangering my teaching credential with the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, the CTC. On July 27th of last year, your in-house counsel sent district administrators, but not me, the results of their investigation declaring that I created a hostile work environment for certain district staff members based solely on my public comments to you before this board. Almost a week later, on August 2nd, the district voluntarily granted my request for a release from my contract, and we both wished each other well. That same day, I entered into a teaching contract with another district. A week later, on August 9th, your staff mailed to me a summary of the investigation, but even as of today, you've never sent me a copy of the investigation report itself, which made it impossible for me to respond to its conclusions. 3 weeks later, on August 23rd, the district mailed to me a notice that they informed, your staff informed the CTC that I resigned my position in order to avoid your internal investigation, which had already concluded by the time I requested my release from my contract, but which they had withheld, that information they had withheld from me. Your district's letter put into motion a review of my credential by the CTC. I was in my second full week of teaching in my new district, which, by the way, supports me in this cause. Rather than send me a copy of their extensive filing with the CTC, your staff sent me only a summary notice of what they had done. On January 30th, I learned that the CTC will be hearing my case in mid-March and may take action against me, including revocation of my teaching credential. Fortunately, the CTC itself sent me your original staff copies of the complaint against me, which seemed to have been written by an unnamed attorney, as well as your in-house counsel's investigation report. Your investigator did not provide a single piece of evidence to prove any of my public statements as false. In fact, your investigator did not cite, identify, or articulate a single sentence, phrase, or clause, not one, that I actually made. She never asked me to provide any evidence to corroborate or substantiate anything that I said before you in public comments. That evidence I still have, and I'm still prepared to give that to you.
30 seconds.
I urge you to read the original complaint and the investigation report. You will find that there's no basis of fact within that report. I actually then encourage you also to contact the CTC administratively or otherwise to have them rescind, withdraw, or modify the comments or the allegations that the district has against me. Thank you.
And we have no online comments. We have 2 comments on agenda items.
Sorry. I believe Mr. Rodriguez also had a non-agenda.
Oh, Mr. Rodriguez,
I'm sorry,
please come
thank you.
forward.
Good evening, President Thomas, Vice President Hill, board members, student board member Torres. So great to see you there. Just little guy. And interim superintendent staff. I came here to say goodbye to thank Bowen for his time, but since I'm here, I wanted to address the 3 board members that decided to dismiss Dr. Triplett, a good man. we're going to be embarking on a new superintendent search pretty soon. And first I want to address Member Thomas. You have a history of being very difficult on superintendents. My hope is that that's in your past. And when you do choose the new superintendent, which in my opinion is the most important thing a board does, you'll pick somebody and then you'll allow her to do a great job and then stay out of her way and no micromanaging. And to the new board members, or to the other two board members that voted to let Dr. Triplett go, my hope is that if you haven't done so already, you look at the grand jury report from years ago and you do your best to not duplicate what was done then and choose somebody, get the community involved, hire a good superintendent search firm, and choose somebody that you really can get behind and support that person and allow her to run the district the best way possible. And again, choosing a superintendent for a board is the most important thing you can do, that, in my opinion. And allowing that person to run the district without micromanaging is something that we all wish for. Keep the community involved in the search, allow the community to have input in who they want to be our new leader, and then just do what's in your heart and vote for the person you think is going to be the best for our district. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we move to public comment on agenda items. Item 13.3, Ms. Gutierrez, you wanted to speak to that item, and 13.3 is the employment agreement review, discussion, and approval of the interim superintendent's employment agreement.
Okay. With regards to the appointment of the interim superintendent, board, once again, you do not surprise me. Nickel and diming when it comes to things that involve the students in a positive way, but throwing money away when it comes to satisfying your will. As compared to Dr. Triplett, you will be paying the interim superintendent $50,000, over $50,000 more. He will only be working 3 days a week also. So why hire an interim? Why not allow Ms. Pierce Davis to do the work that she is more than qualified to do? She knows the process, she knows the programs, and she also knows the community. On top of paying this interim, you will also be wasting more money with the search firm, wasting students' money. Nancy, you supposedly say and preach on being fiscally responsible. You are putting NUSD back into the deficit that you promised everybody you would be getting out of. NTA wants a raise. I don't know where that money's going to be coming from because it's all getting wasted here. Without you, Nancy, we actually got NUSD out of the deficit. Now it's coming back. To Mr. Milliken, as far as the community knows, you are just another one of Nancy's buddies, here to satisfy her best wishes. She selected you behind closed doors without explaining to the community the process. Please understand that this board pushed out the previous superintendent because they did not like him, not because he was doing a bad job. So the community is not happy with their actions. Well, that of the board majority. I hope you work well with staff and allow them to continue to do the work that they have been tirelessly doing. I hope that you do your job as a superintendent and lead the district in a positive direction and help this board understand the role.
Thank you. Ms. Gutierrez, you also wanted to speak on 13.5, consideration of guiding principles.
Okay. This agenda item was actually very interesting and funny coming from who it's coming from. That being said, the agenda item is all about defining management styles for the CEO. This is overstepping your role once again. The board interviews a superintendent and can judge their management styles based on those interviews. After you select a candidate, you allow them to do their job and allow them to manage the staff based on their experience. You then evaluate their job. You evaluate that superintendent and see if they're doing a good job. You don't tell him how to do it, you don't tell him what to do. If the board is bringing this agenda item to reflect on themselves and to see how they will manage the only one employee that they have, okay. But if you're bringing this agenda item to tell the superintendent how to do their job, you are once again overstepping. As a previous speaker said, there is a grand jury report regarding the actions that are not allowed, and this board is doing a lot of those same steps. So my understanding is you guys have all read it. I think you probably should reread it again and actually take a really close look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we move on to the consent agenda, personnel items.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Fink, I believe, also had a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. Mr. Fink.
Waited all that time, you almost skipped me?
I'm sorry.
No problem. First of all, board, thank you for your service. The community does not realize how hard you work, how much goes into this for such little appreciation. And I think that's evident sometimes in the things that I've seen on public comments, both here and before you and online. So I just want to get off by saying thank you. I have been a resident and homeowner in this community for 40 years, almost 40 years. Long enough that I remember voting for Mr. Rodriguez his first time around. So it's been a while. I've watched many board members come and go, and I've watched many superintendents come and go. This is a cycle. This is what happens. It's unfortunate sometimes that you're put into a position, especially you new board members, coming in faced with a lot of decisions to make behind closed doors. The community does not always understand these processes. I'm retired from the city of San Mateo and presented myself many a times before closed door sessions. I understand how difficult it is, how the Brown Act operates, and how you guys are forced into making decisions that the community wishes to know more of. So before you is this decision tonight. You had a 3-2 vote previously on Dr. Triplett's situation. Now before you have a situation, are you going to band together to move forward? You've made the decision, and I think that's appropriate. That's the closed door personnel decision. Tonight, I encourage the board to band together, to put aside these past difficult times and move forward for the community, for the kids. This is what we need. I applaud you for taking this step to, in my view, bring in a major league pitcher, paying a lot of money for him, but somebody who's going to come in here, stabilize, and move this district forward while you search for the right candidate that can take us for a longer term. Please band together. Let's work together. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. So now we move on to consent personnel agenda items. Actually, Superintendent, will you be handling that?
Thank you so much. As you know, our normal executive director of human resources has been out this week on leave. She will be back next week, so please no one get upset by the empty seat. We do have the wonderful Jesse Cerna here with us today, and so if you do have any questions, he is sitting in the audience. He can answer any questions regarding the personnel report or any of the items in this category.
Since we didn't pull any of the items, I'd like to make a motion to approve items 9.2 and 9.3.
The items 9.2 and 9.3 have been put on. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Member Nguyen and seconded by Member Jeong. Please vote.
did you cast your vote?
Yes.
Was it a yay?
I hit yay, but it keeps
I've got it.
keeps
for you.
tagging it as as an abstention, so I just changed it again.
Thank you. All the votes are in. 5 ayes.
5 ayes, thank you. Next, we move on to consent agenda non-personnel items. Several items have been pulled from the consent agenda. 10.2, field trip, and 10.9 through 10.15, those are minutes of previous meetings. So is there any board member that wants to pull any of the consent agenda items? Member?
I'd like to pull item 10.7, the warrant report. Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to approve item 10.1, 10.3, 10.4, 10.5, 10.6, 10.8.
I move to approve.
Member
So,
Nguyen
so
moves
without a
to approve.
10.1, 10.1 is
Yeah,
not an item.
it's a placeholder. So we're approving items 10.3, 10.4, 10.5, 10.6, 10.8.
10.8.
I will second that.
Member Jeong has seconded that. Please vote.
Student board member?
Oh. Student board member, your preference.
You're fine.
I have this sign right here. It says student board member.
I like that.
Student board member, your preferential vote.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Please vote. Hit me.
Is that working? Your vote is aye? Yay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Votes are in. 6 ayes.
6 ayes. Okay,
Doesn't like you
member Hill, you pulled 10.7?
Yes, thank you, President Thomas. So I noticed as I was going through the warrant report that there was a warrant for Mr. Jeffrey Vu for $8,000. And as the board may recall, I have expressed concerns around Mr. Vu as a vendor. I do not believe he is a legitimate vendor. And as I shared in prior sessions, according to Government Code Section 53060, which is on the independent contractor contract itself, it says that basically we are, by signing this contract, contracting for the furnishing of special services and advice in financial, economic, accounting, engineering, legal, and administrative matters with persons specially trained, experienced, and competent to perform such services. And on the contract, it states that the contractor has been specially trained, but there's been no proof that that's been provided. And as I mentioned before, again, at least from the research that I've done, it seems that Mr. Vu has primarily been an employee at the Oakland Unified School District. He doesn't have any experience offering these services as a vendor. But one other point that is not on the contract, but is a part of California law, is when you're an independent contractor, you need to meet a number of tests. And so according to California Labor Code 2750.3A1C, you can only classify someone as an independent contractor if the person is customarily engaged in an independently established trade, occupation, or business of the same nature as that involved in the work performed. And as some may recall, I was an independent contractor. I had my own business for 17 years, so I'm very familiar with these requirements. And customarily engaged really means that you have what's called a going concern. You have a legitimate business, and you do a number of things to provide proof of that. So you have a business presence, you have a storefront, you have a website. And the other thing that you do is you have a business license. And I think that there's been some confusion around when I say business license, what that means. But let me just state that what it means is that any business in California, and quite frankly in any state, that wants to do business needs to register with the city to say, I'm a business and I need to operate here, and I need you to provide me a license. And that's a demonstration that not only am I legitimate, but also, most importantly, that I'm going to pay my taxes. And so legitimate businesses pay their taxes. As I've mentioned before, based on a search of Mr. Vu's background, he does not have these business licenses. But the reason I'm raising all this right now is I've come into additional information. Some of it has been based on internet research, but some of it has been based on information that we've gotten from staff that is very concerning, and that is causing me to think that we really need to table approving this warrant for Mr. Vu. And the information that has caused concern for me, and I'm going to pass this information out to everybody so that you have a copy. One second here. If you could pass these down. You have copies for everybody? You have it, okay. And then I'll just put a few copies here. So, in going out to Mr. Vu's Facebook page, it appears that, it's not clear exactly, but it appears that he quit his job at Oakland USD probably around May of last year. And it appears that he has been traveling the world. And if you go look at page 2 of the handout that I've provided here, he's talking about how, and this was posted on November of this past year, this week I celebrated a year of global travel, of personal growth, supportive friendships, etc. And then if you go to the next page, and you look at, this post was on January 13th of this year, it shows Mr. Vu, and he states, I'm a traveling artist connecting you to the world through the power of story and visual element. And he goes on to say, in my former life, I was an educator and a school principal, until all that collapsed and I didn't know who I was anymore.
Member
And if
Hill,
you, yeah, and I'm going to shorten it up. And so the challenge that we're seeing here is that if you look at his Facebook posts, he's all over the world. He's in Prague. He's in Turkey. He's in Japan.
Point of order.
And so, excuse me, I'm making a statement. And so, and my concern is,
this is really inappropriate. You're stalker.
So it's not, because the issue is that he's not a legitimate vendor. And if we look at his.
Call for the question.
And so, if you can please allow me to finish. The concern that I have is
Point of order, President Thomas. Point of order.
Yeah. What is your point of order?
Does he have a clarifying question regarding the warrant? He is not. He is
I-
basically vilifying one of our vendors in public.
So-
Point of order.
So
I also made a motion. I said, call for the question, and that is a motion that.
So
the board-
then I would like to make a motion. So.
My motion has to be passed before any other motion. And call for the question asks for a vote of whether or not we should stop discussion on this item. So let's do a voice vote or a polled vote. Do we want to stop discussion on this item?
I move that we stop discussion on this item. Make it a second, please.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Student member, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member Nguyen?
Yes.
Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Jeong? Yes. Member Hill?
I would like to finish, but it sounds like I've been outvoted.
And my vote is yes.
So then I'd like to make a motion
Sorry,
regarding
this.
this.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. Member Hill, was that a no vote or
It was
a
no.
yes?
It was
A
no.
vote, thank
Yeah.
you.
So we've ended discussion, so I would like to make a motion that we that we approve the warrant report, but that we do not approve the warrant for Mr. Vu, because we need to investigate whether we're actually getting the services that have been committed in the contract, or whether we're not being appropriately billed. And so that's my motion.
Is there a second? If not, I invite a motion.
I move to approve the warrant report. May I get a second, please?
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded, moved by Member Nguyen and seconded by Member Jeong, that we approve the warrant report. Please vote.
Yes, please vote.
I'm a yes. I don't know why it's not registering my vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jones, Member Jones? Oh, I'm sorry, you're still thinking. My apologies. Student Member Torres?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. The votes are in. Let's see. 1, 2, 3 ayes. Student Member Torres is the fourth aye, 2 noes. Thank you.
And who are the noes?
Excuse me, no by Member Hill and no by Member Jones.
Thank you. So next, I would invite our acting superintendent to read the donations report.
Thank you. This is one of the more fun aspects of this job. So we do have some donations, and we want to be very grateful to those donors, and so I'm going to go ahead and read these out. We have $6,974.75 for Birch Grove Intermediate. The donor is Jean P. Ficklin, and this is specified for the arts program. This was given on November 16th, 2022. We also have the donation of 4 mini iPads, 4 keyboards, 4 wireless headphones, 4 protective tablet cases, 4 gift cards for iPads, athletic ball pump, athletic mesh ball bag, a basketball, junior football, volleyball, athletic electronic whistle, set of 10 athletic field cones, all for McGregor. The donation date here was December 19th, 2022, and the donor is Autism Yesterday and Today, and this is for our TAL program. We also have $300 for Newark Junior High on December 21st, 2022. The donor was NJHS PTSA, and the specified purpose for this is the classroom mini grant, and this is for our math program. Finally, we have $300 for Newark Junior High School on December 21st, 2022, again by our NJHS PTSA, and this was for another classroom mini grant specified for our 6th grade. So if we can all just give a quick thank you to our donors for their generosity.
Thank you very much. Well, next we move on to the acting superintendent report.
All right, thank you. Tonight I'd like to just share with you a little bit of all of the amazing things that are happening here in Newark. This is a little bit on the lighter side tonight. It felt timely and appropriate. And so, Jody, if you don't mind just clicking through for me. All right. First, I want to start by acknowledging that it is Black History Month, February. But that Black history, like all of our diverse cultures in the United States, as we talked a little bit about, even with Member Jeong just immigrating into our country this year, it is important that we celebrate our history every month, to be clear. But we do spend a little extra attention in February, making sure that we uplift the figures. So I just want to make sure I represent that. As always, we do, we have our enrollment. No, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. We have started enrollment, started February 7th. We are off to a great start. I just want to remind our families, please go and register. Our priority window ends March 7th, and so now is the time. Do not wait. Go in. Our website has all the information you need, and if you still need support, go ahead and email enroll@newarkunified.org, and we will get you the assistance that you need in both English and in Spanish. Our enrollment update, our numbers are here. I did a little bit differently, so you do see them by school here. As you can see, we're still about 100 students lower than projected, but that number has gone a little bit up as we start to see families that move back into our community after the holiday. Since our enrollment, it doesn't look like that's been updated. Can you go to the, can you go ahead and refresh? Just make sure it's updated. Thank you. Oh, nope, it looks like it's not there. That's okay. I will do it from memory as best as I possibly can, but community, please don't hold me to these numbers as I am doing it from memory. So since we've opened up registration on February 6th, February 7th, we've had a total of about a couple hundred new registrations, new student registrations. Most of those are in transitional kindergarten and kindergarten programs, as to be expected, but that's definitely a much faster start than we had last year, and so that's really good news. We also have about a total of about a little over 1,000, so about 1,300 of our student registrations for this year. So we still have about 3,000 some odd families go register, especially get in before that March 7th window. All right, in case we still have questions that come up about transitional kindergarten, so our dates are here. These flyers have been posted in each of our windows of our elementary schools as well. We are offering transitional kindergarten at every elementary school in Newark. And so again, we encourage our families to apply. Those are the birth dates. But as you know, there are times where we do allow students a little earlier than the birth date into transitional kindergarten as well. And we've done that in the past. But please, please, please go ahead and enroll. All right, it is National School Counseling Week. We missed this announcement last superintendent report, and our counselors are critical to the work that we do in Newark. And so I wanted to take a moment to honor them and their work that they do. In the next few slides, you're going to actually see some of that incredible work. So we're going to keep moving forward. We've got our FAFSA DREAM Act applications. There is a March 2nd deadline. And so our counselors are actually hosting a financial aid support night at Newark Memorial High School for all of our secondary students on February 22nd from 5 to 7:30. If you have not submitted your DREAM Act or your FAFSA application, please get the support you need. We're only at about 31% right now of completion for Newark Memorial High School and about 20% for Bridgepoint Crossroads families. And so we absolutely want to support in getting that number higher, and the personnel are available to you. We also have our Career Technical Education Night coming up very soon. This will be Friday, February 17th, so that is tomorrow from 6 to 7 p.m. It's virtual, so you can do it from the very comfort of your home. The information right there at CTE Night, N-I-T-E. And if you have any questions at all, just reach out to us at the district office. I was with Member Thomas at the brunch that we had at Mission Valley ROP just last week, and we had a student, Luis Carranza, who just really blew us away with his understanding of CTE, right? And really just how he represented Newark. And so we want to encourage as many families as possible to understand what a resource we do have in our Mission Valley ROP Center. We also have a college and career fair coming up. If you are interested in being a presenter, please contact our coordinator of access and equity, Heather Decker. Her information is right there. She also happens to be in the audience tonight. We are planning this for May 11th. This is a district-wide, so even though it's held at Newark Memorial High School, it will be a district-wide event, and we're really excited to kick this off as well. Again, just so many amazing activities I couldn't help but share. Tomorrow we have Special Olympics. If February 17th again. It'll start 9 a.m. in the morning. This is an incredible event, and we are hosting at Newark Memorial, and after COVID sort of disrupted some of our hosting events, we're excited to bring it back. Very exciting. We also have already kicked off our project to inspire. This is CABE. So this particular workshop is presented in Spanish for our Spanish-speaking families. We do similar presentations in English as well, but to be able to bring this back this year was really a feat. Right now we are fully booked, so every seat is filled, but we have a wait list, and we want to make sure that you get on the wait list if you're interested, because that will give us the information we need to offer it again next year if it's a desirable. We also have Veronica Torres leading that work. She's from our community, and so again, I really encourage people to reach out to Ashley Acosta. Her information is right there if you are interested in participating. Finally, I just want to give a little bit of update around our STEM initiative. Both our STAR Academy, as we think about our computational thinking side, as well as our environmental literacy. We're going to move, thank you. Go ahead. First, we have robotics in action in our junior high. Again, we're going to move through these slides a little bit on the fast side, but I just want to share, sometimes you need to see it in action. You need to see our students. You need to see what they're up to. This is our outdoor learning at Crab Cove. We've got 9 first grade classrooms have already visited Crab Cove as part of our initiative, and we have 5 more preparing to go. So again, they share with us their learning. They share with us, you can see how excited they are as they go through the activities. This particular kiddo's reflection I had to sort of bring out because it was particularly beautiful. And so really the work that we're doing with our environmental literacy is hitting, again, all of our students, really TK through 12. Our next one shows Monterey Bay Aquarium, so we're back to the junior high here. All 6th grade classrooms, including our SDC classrooms, visited Monterey Bay Aquarium in December. And then we also have some maker spaces and some early computational thinking happening in our younger grades as well. So this is actually a kindergarten 1st grade classroom at Coyote Hills Elementary. You can see them sort of applying their algorithmic thinking with coding and programming. And we do that by sort of incorporating some of the unplugged activities that you see there. Here's another classroom in 4th grade, and there you see them practicing. What you see there on the grids is you sort of have them practicing the testers, the bots, and the programmers, thinking about what is the type of thinking that it takes to get into a code reference. And that middle student there actually just came to Newark from outside of the country, and already you see he's jumping right into the work without having a problem at all. And so this was really a moment where not only did we get to see the brilliance of our TOSA, Ms. Kim, but we also just saw how universal computer science can be. We also have some attendance challenges. Again, I'm so sorry you're missing the notes here. I'm not sure what happened with the presentation, but we'll go ahead and fix that for next time. We do have some attendance challenges. We're trying to get our attendance back up. I know with COVID, we sort of gotten into a frame of mind of staying home, and we should continue to stay home if we're not feeling well. I don't want to encourage us not to. But it's also important that we try to schedule our appointments outside of regularly school hours. And so we've got a couple initiatives coming up. One will be an elementary March Madness tournament for the month of March, where schools and classes compete to get the best attendance. We also have some activities happening at Newark Memorial High School as well as the junior high. We sort of have a spring fever dance where we're offering tickets or we're offering early admittance to students who maintain high attendance. So we're rolling that out in February and March. And finally,
I think that is your final.
okay. Okay, so I am, because it does seem like you've got an old presentation, not sure what happened there, but because you do have an old presentation, we have really exciting news that I am going to let the community be waiting, bating breath for our next superintendent report, because I think it needs its due diligence. I will just say it really celebrates one of our community members who has gotten a state award for her service. And again, we're going to celebrate her a lot this year, so this won't be the first or last you hear about it, but I'm going to go ahead and wait because I want to make sure she gets her due diligence. Thank you so much.
Just wondering. Thank you. Very good report.
Ms. Pierce, can you give us the time for the Special Olympics tomorrow?
Opening ceremony is 9 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
May I add one correction to one of your slides? Miss Musial teaches third grade, and it said fourth up there.
Thank you. I believe we had Miss Pauline Kim was in that classroom, so possibly, yeah, we'll make sure we get that right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Acting Superintendent, would you like to introduce the staff report?
Yeah, so this came as a request from the board to understand a little bit more about what process we were using around our ELA curriculum. So I'd like to invite up our Director of Teaching and Learning, Ariel Dolowich, as well as our Coordinator of Access and Equity, Heather Decker, who can go through the process that's already in way and give us a little bit more information.
Great. Good evening, members of the board. Nice to see everyone. This evening's presentation is in response to a direct request with respect to the district's ELA 8 curriculum. For tonight, our outcomes include the following. One, to provide a detailed account of the timeline and process that has occurred with respect to the Curriculum and Assessment Council to date with respect to that curriculum. And second, to outline clear next steps for the Curriculum and Assessment Council to take based on survey staff results related to the curriculum. A little background and inquiry with respect to this. So concerns have been raised over the last few years by both staff and community members with respect to the English Language Arts curriculum. I will detail more specifically those concerns on the next slide. Thus far, we've convened 5 Curriculum and Assessment Council meetings, more than the required allotment, and we have a few more to go. During 4 of those, we've allocated significant time to engage with Curriculum and Assessment Council with respect to getting their input, having them generate the questions, and then finally receiving their approval for the actual survey. At this point, I do want to be clear, no determination has yet been made, but I do want to point out that past adoptions in order of the most recent backwards, history adoption, 2021, 22, science grade 7 and 8, June of 2020, and then big ideas math, 2018, 2018-19. So English language arts would be the logical next adoption. Our intent, however, is to be responsive to feedback from our staff and community and consider a potential pilot in the fall of 2023, and we'll detail this evening an if-then timeline based on the staff feedback. Do want to outline some of the concerns, preliminary staff input, as well as community input, that the current ELA curriculum is viewed by some as not comprehensive to the actual California Common Core standards. In other words, some view it as more philosophical rather than concrete in terms of lesson designs or ways to engage at the lower grades with respect to developmentally appropriate text. Also, some teachers specific to phonics at the lower grades have been supplementing with Fontes and Pinnell. That's an additional instructional material. And then finally, new teachers, whether it's new teacher orientation or subsequent feedback from new teachers, have requested a more sequential curriculum. And this is surfaced at Curriculum and Assessment Council in terms of providing something more tangible for students to interact with. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Decker, our Coordinator of College and Access, to detail the steps that we've taken thus far and then where we're going from here.
Thank you, Ariel. Good evening, board, NUSD staff, and community members watching from here and afar. I'm going to go over our timeline of events so far and the next steps based on the feedback on our English language arts curriculum. As Ariel mentioned, the Curriculum and Assessment Council has met 5 times this year so far, and in 4 of these meetings has dedicated significant time on the topic of our K-8 curriculum. including readings regarding research on our current ELA curriculum. In order to better understand the satisfaction and experience of all teachers working with this curriculum, the council developed a feedback survey for our staff. Over the last 3 meetings, the council provided questions and feedback regarding this survey and how to best gather the information to make a decision for the next steps. Questions on these surveys that the council created included: how satisfied are you with the current ELA curriculum? What aspects are and are not working for your students, including phonics, meaning making, vocabulary development, etc.? How is the curriculum meeting the needs of your students, including dual language immersion students, SEAL, English language learners, students with IEPs, and students with intervention needs? And what additional resources or materials are needed to support the current ELA curriculum? Principals have received this information about the survey at their information sessions, and the survey was sent out via email to K-8 staff throughout the district this month. Principals will be scheduling 10 minutes in their upcoming staff meetings to provide context and feedback on the process and give people time to fill out the survey within those meetings for anyone who hasn't filled out the survey yet. Ariel and I have offered to be in attendance for these meetings to answer any questions. As of this morning, about 50 staff have already completed the survey. After the survey has been completed by staff, Ariel and I will tabulate the results and present them to the Curriculum Assessment Council on their March 8th meeting. From there, the Curriculum Assessment Council will review the results and make a recommendation moving forward to the Ed Services team. A community engagement session with families and community members will take place in March once the Curriculum Council has made a decision about next steps. This will allow families to give input on their experiences with their student around the current ELA curriculum, which we can use to either pilot a program or find supplemental materials based on the Curriculum Council's decision. From there, the process will go one of 2 ways. At the top of our timeline chart, if it is recommended by the Curriculum Council that we pilot a new ELA curriculum, an adoption committee will be formed and will work to review options and select a pilot program. As Ariel mentioned, we are hoping to pilot a curriculum by next year in 2023-2024. At the bottom of our timeline, if the recommendation is to maintain our current curriculum, the Ed Services team, along with the Curriculum Council, will identify what supplemental materials may be needed and what PD needs to be offered to support staff. Board engagement and approval will happen after we pilot a curriculum and are making a recommendation for adoption. Costs associated with piloting a new ELA curriculum will be minimal. Most pilot curriculum materials are provided free by the providers. There will be a small cost to the district to be able to time card teachers interested in being on the curriculum adoption committee, but there are already grant funds set aside to be able to cover this cost. We are excited about the process so far and are eager to review the staff feedback from this survey. We are happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Member Nguyen?
Thank you, President Thomas. Thank you both for the presentation and the very detailed timeline of a possible new curriculum adoption. And my question is, do you guys already have in mind what new curriculum you would like to pilot, or you're waiting for recommendation from the committee?
We are waiting for recommendation from the committee before we start making those determinations. They have not made suggestions at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes?
I just wanted to say thank you very much. I was the one that requested this, and I really, really appreciate seeing this and the timeline. I'm thrilled. I'm really happy with it. You know, as a teacher for so long in the district, and being a part of mini pilots, this is really exciting to me. And I love how you are taking that timeline and either showing us the potential for a new curriculum adoption or what you'll do in maintaining the current curriculum and how to support that. So thank you very much for a thorough job.
Thank you for that feedback.
I would like to say thank you as well. It looks like you have a good plan going forward next year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, under new business, we have a policy update, board policy and regulation 5131.62, tobacco. Do you want to introduce that, please?
Yeah, so this board policy update is timely. It is one on the list that the board has requested that we update. And we are following CSBA guidance on this one, so there are no changes. If there's any questions, I can answer any.
Any questions?
No, I'd like to motion to approve item 13.1.
I'll second that.
Okay. I do have a question. I probably should have asked it. I noticed under program evaluation, there's an optional section, and that is if we take to-pay money, that we are required to do every 2 years, we have the California Healthy Kids Survey. So that's going to continue, and that optional paragraph is included. It's at the bottom of page, or on page 3.
Yes, so we will continue with our two-pay program, and we will continue to offer our California Healthy Kids Survey. In fact, that is a good plug because that will be coming out very soon. We're trying to get it out to our families earlier this year.
Great, thank you. Okay, the motion has been made by Member Nguyen, I believe, and seconded by Member Jeong, was it?
Member Jones.
Member Jones, thank you, that we approve policy and regulation 5131.62. Please vote.
Yes.
Thank you, Member
Oh,
Torres.
I did it again.
Member Nguyen?
And I was-
Thank you. 6 ayes, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Member Torres. I don't know if I'll ever get that right. Okay, next we have the employment agreement, the verbal summary of the financial terms of the interim superintendent's employment agreement. So I'm going to read out that verbal summary. The board will consider approving an employment agreement for Michael Milliken to serve as the interim superintendent of Newark Unified School District for the remainder of the 2022-23 school year. The agreement for the interim superintendent will commence on February 13, 2023, and terminate on June 30th, 2023, or upon the employment of a permanent superintendent, whichever comes first. A summary of the financial terms are as follows. The base salary of the interim superintendent will be $1,095 per day, not to exceed $87,000. The interim superintendent is entitled to the same health insurance coverage that the district provides to other certificated administrative employees in the district. The superintendent shall be reimbursed for the use of his personal vehicle for the district business at the IRS rate. And next we move on to 13.3, employment agreement, review, discussion, and approval of the interim superintendent's employment agreement. And so I would open that up to the board for discussion. Okay, if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I motion to approve the employment agreement.
I second.
Please vote.
Yes, voting's open, thank you.
Student board member, I believe you can't vote because this is a personnel item. Is that true?
You can make a comment, though.
Yes, certainly.
Member Nguyen?
I'm a no.
No.
And I'll explain later.
Thank you. The votes are in. 3 ayes, 2 noes. No by Member Nguyen and no by Member Jeong.
Wait a minute. I didn't vote no. I voted to abstain because obviously, this is a very long-term impact thing. I would let my replacement to deal with this. I didn't vote no on that. I abstain, I believe.
You abstain. Thank you. May I have the members revote, please? So a nay for, so Member Jeong, you're trying to abstain?
Yeah, I click on the abstain.
It keeps bouncing you to nay.
And I'm a nay, and it keeps bouncing me to abstention.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So with the online voting having a problem, shall we do a roll call vote?
Let's do a roll call vote,
Thank you.
starting
Sorry
with
about that.
Member Nguyen.
No.
Yes.
I abstain because I do think the incoming whatever superintendent deserves my silence since I wouldn't be here when he shows up.
Yes.
And yes. Well,
I have a comment before you
sure.
make yours. So I had time to reflect after last Monday's special meeting and the announcement of superintendent's resignation. I was recharged and reminded in leadership training a few days later at my regular 8 to 5 that the actions and decisions of the board majority, President Thomas, Member Hill, and Member Jones, is not good leadership. In fact, their actions are what micromanagers do out of fear, which in turn creates more fear about doubt in our community. These are characteristics that they possess, which are those of a micromanager and not a leader. They want to drive employees, use employees, command them, misuse their authority, and generate fear. Member Hill has consistently been doing this since his term started in 2020, and we were reminded of how he has made students feel uncomfortable last week during public comment. To the two new board members who's chosen to align with Member Hill, you made your decisions based on what? You didn't even have proper time to truly work and build a relationship with Superintendent Triplett. True leaders would have taken the time to see every side of the story before they decide. Your short-sightedness is not leadership. These three board members lack leadership and do not know that leading is a privilege, and fundamentally, it is about people development. It is about observing and evaluating before you act. It is about caring for those in your charge to nurture and grow, motivate and empower. It is about building trust, leading by example, encouraging innovation, thinking, and taking risks. The superintendent is our one employee that we need to work with collaboratively so that she can grow and be empowered to lead their team the same way. Our current board majority do not have the capacity for transformational leadership. The other thing they praise themselves so highly for is their transparency. Well, where's the transparency when it comes to the decisions they drive? We still don't know the actual fiscal impact of the superintendent's resignation agreement. What is the total cost of the 12-month lump sum payment and the 12-month full benefits? They easily pass that without having to disclose that to the public. But they won't approve much-needed computers for our students without inventory of assets. Which is more pressing and important? Approval of resignation payout of a well-liked and beloved administrator, or approval of much-needed computer equipment to close the achievement gap for students? A transformational leader would know that it is the approval of computer equipment that is the most pressing and important, which was not brought back tonight for approval and will once again be delayed. Our students' standardized test scores will be negatively affected by your bad decision-making as micromanagers and not leaders. Your actions go against the district's vision and mission. And to you, Dr. Milliken, I voted against the approval of your agreement because I do not agree with the process that has gotten us here today. And I also believe that we have a very capable assistant superintendent in Ms. Pierce who should have been given the opportunity to be interim. With that said, I do look forward to working with you and building a relationship these next couple of months, because based on your resume and your interview, I do believe that our leadership styles align, that your leadership style aligns with mine. So thank you.
I would invite Dr. Milliken to come forward and introduce himself to the community, please.
Thank you for hiring me. I understand your reason for voting against. I understand your reason for abstaining. Trustee Jeong, good luck in Redwood Shores. I was principal in Belmont Redwood Shores, so if you need any introductions or if I can help in any way, please let me know. I want to thank the board for this opportunity. I realize that I'm coming in difficult circumstances, but I want you to know that I take this role seriously. I will give it my best. I will listen. I will focus on communication, transparency, making sure that I am connecting the board with staff. I'm working with our employees, that I am collaborative, and I'm supporting the good work of the capable employees that you have. I had a bit of a soft start this week and tagged along with Ms. Pierce, soon to be Dr. Pierce. She turned in her dissertation earlier this week, so congratulations. Congratulations, Nicole. You have great people here. I look forward to reconnecting with the folks I know in Newark. I look forward to visiting school sites. I look forward to connecting and listening to your community. You know, my role here will be to provide stability, to support the good work that's taking place, and to facilitate a comprehensive and thoughtful transition to the permanent superintendent when that hopefully happens later this spring. So again, thanks for the opportunity. I'm honored and I take it seriously, and I look forward to getting to know people and hitting the ground running. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we move on to the next step in this process, correct? The
We're on item 13.5.
13.4. Yeah,
13.4.
the superintendent search. Ms. Pierce?
All right, for this, we do have 3 potential proposals here for you tonight. I'm going to go ahead and invite our interim Executive Director of Human Resources, if you will, subbing in for Ms. Catherine Ingham Waters. Again, she'll be back next week, but he's going to take us through the proposals that we have.
Good evening, President Thomas, members of the board, members of staff. My name's Jeff Cerna. I'm a retired Chief Human Resources Officer and have been asked to come out and help a little bit while Catherine's been out. So thank you for, again, also allowing me to be here for the last couple of weeks. I was asked by staff to reach out to 3 firms to submit proposals to conduct your superintendent search. We reached out to the California School Board Association, whose business partner with respect to executive searches is McPherson and Jacobson. We've also reached out to Leadership Associates and to HYA. We reached out to them last Wednesday and we asked them to submit proposals to you, and they have since done so. I believe you have in your possession 3 proposals. McPherson and Jacobson, as well as Leadership Associates, have staff available this evening via Zoom, should you like a presentation from them and to be able to answer any question, ask any questions that you may ask of them. HYA was unavailable to present this evening. They're in travel right now, but also stated that they would be available if you have questions, if you'd like to contact them directly. I've also reviewed their proposal and can answer any questions that I can answer for them with respect to their proposal. So with that, I'm not sure how your acting superintendent would like to proceed. We have the 2 firms available right now. The first one would be McPherson and Jacobson. They're now available via Zoom should you a presentation. We've asked them to do a very short presentation, about a 5-minute presentation, kind of just summarizing their proposal and then allowing you to ask some questions from them. Do you have any questions for me? Okay.
Okay, so on Zoom, we have Daniel Moraro, sorry if I mispronounced that, and Bill Hewitt. And gentlemen, you are live. Are you able to speak? What's going on? See. Can you just test, can you try again? There we are. Can you try again, please? Test. Either Bill or Dan, can you say something? I see you're trying to speak, Dan. Dan, try again. Test, I can hear him here. Trying the different speakers. You know what? I was going to say, if you don't mind, could we just, if we could have you answer questions on Leadership Associates while I get this taken care of, that'd be great. Thank you.
That's fine.
Thank you. He's trying to speak and it's not coming through. So I tried to put it on the Yeti speaker and it's not working. Microphone and the speaker too. This gentleman speaking, Mr. Marino. So here to the speaker and then even the speaker Yeti, try the Yeti speakers. So that one's working.
Is he trying to speak?
So, Dan, thank you. I can see that he's trying to speak.
Hello.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Very good. Thank you for your patience. My apologies.
Hello.
Test. Just a little bit louder.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you, Dan and Bill. You can go ahead and get started. I have your presentation up. just had him.
Hello?
Thank you. Yep.
Hello there?
Hello, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Thank you. Yes. Dan, are you able to hear us? We can hear you now.
Hello?
I think I'll take that as a no.
Well, it's working.
Maybe call them and tell them to just talk.
Hello there?
I don't. Is there a chat box? Is there a chat box? We do.
Hello?
Say we can hear you. Go ahead and get started and we'll follow along.
Yeah,
Hello?
we did.
Yes, it's showing it's working.
Yes, we did. We said, go ahead, we can hear you.
Well, good. You can hear me, and the chat is telling me it's disabled. Do you want to submit their questions to me via chat?
We could do that.
We could do that, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I don't know if they're seeing my slides or anything. So, hello there. I'm Daniel Moreo. I'm one of the consultants with McPherson and Jacobson. And Bill and I learned about this earlier this afternoon. So we both had other commitments. Matter of fact, I'm talking to you from Texas. I'm here at the AASA conference where I will be presenting. And delighted to be able to present to you. Some of you know me from before. And, okay, things are happening on my screen. I don't know what's going on. And Bill was not, although I just saw his name pop up, was not going to be able to make it tonight. He's in the midst of another activity, so you got me. You do have the proposal, and I do understand that we're limited on time. So I think the most important part to get to are probably the 5 phases of the search. You have in the proposal a diagram that shows that. And the first phase to go through would be, in fact, identifying criteria timeline. The second is stakeholder meetings, and you will help us identify the stakeholders. We'll develop an application and recruit and advertise. The third phase is to evaluate reference checks, and we go quite deep with the reference checks, and then develop interview questions. The fourth is to identify candidates for the interview candidates, and stakeholder interviews. And then the fifth phase is is after you've hired the superintendent. And the most important job you have is to hire the superintendent. We don't hire. We search for talent for you to review and assess to determine who you want as your next superintendent. Once hired, we don't walk away. We are still there. We will request a meeting with the board and your new superintendent to establish performance objectives. We also have a guarantee that if
for some reason something happens during the first 2 years, we will come back and redo the search at the cost of expenses only. We are a national firm and we are involved in many different ways. You have the PowerPoint there, and again, I don't know if it's on the screen. I mocked up a possible timeline with the ending point being your June 1st regular meeting. That's when you have to appoint superintendent. You can't do it at a special meeting. So working with that, I worked backwards, and you see that the early part of March, we need to sit down and meet together to see, to set up the criteria, to develop the timeline, et cetera. We offer you as a board to determine the way you want to do the interview. There's the traditional board interview. The board interviews the finalists and makes the selection. Or the board can do the interview and a social interaction. What we try to do is set something up informally with you and your finalists so that you get to meet the individual on another level. And then the final process is, in fact, an open process where if you as a board decide, you can have stakeholder groups do an interview, the board interviews, and then you make the selection. We can still work in that social interaction piece. We typically have these process. You will also get, for those folks that you have determined are your finalists, they will do a video interview so that you can see them even before you actually meet them for the interview. You have the cost of the proposal in your hands, and that includes 4 weeks of advertising in EdCal, 60 days of advertising on Adjourn, and then a day, it says, for stakeholder meetings. I have yet, in the searches that I've been working with on McPherson and Jacobson, we go much more than a day. And I keep talking to the office that we need to change that, but note that you will get more than a day. And then we also do online stakeholder input surveys. I've already mentioned the video interviews. We then, with the folks that you are considering as serious candidates, we do the criminal, financial, and credential verification background for you. The additional cost may be if there's additional fees for the consultants. I live fairly local to you, so I would always be driving in and out. And so there won't be that expense. There will be some mileage, what have you. Sometimes you as a board also decide to do a broader search or advertising than what we have in the proposal, and that will sometimes add to the expense. I have done, this would be the 8th search that I will have done for McPherson and Jacobson. I myself have been a superintendent. I've also been a state administrator for a school district. And in being truly transparent, and a couple of you already know this because you've met me before, I was actually your interim assistant superintendent for HR a number of years ago. I also have another connection. I've had family live in Newark, and my daughter's first teaching job was there in Newark. So I have a connection to Newark. The difference for us is we work at being very transparent at all times. Very transparent. We have a reputation of sustaining superintendents in those roles. An earlier slide shows that, and maybe I should go back to that. And we have high involvement of stakeholders. So we do hear from your community. You will get a complete report from our meetings with stakeholders, and the candidates tend to use that report as they consider applying, et cetera. And then we're committed to making sure that first year is a positive year for your new superintendent, your district, and yourself. Going back to our sustainability, over 75% of superintendents we placed are still in place for the past 5 years. For 10 years, we've got a 50% rate, as well as for 15 years. That's a quick overview. I see I've been asked if I can share. No, I don't have any controls here that allows me to share my desktop at all. So I apologize for that. Not sure what's going on. I can't even turn my own camera on. So with that, I'll take any questions that you may have. And I'm not able to hear you any longer. I was hearing you earlier in the meeting, but I'm no longer able to hear you. So if somebody would put them in the chat, I'll respond.
Yeah, make your comment.
So yeah, obviously I will be abstaining on this again for tonight. But last time when we did that before the pandemic, the presenter actually showed up in person to present to the board. So,
see in the chat, it says you will add questions to the chat. So you have a
feeling about who they are in person, because this is the firm you'll be working with for several months to search for the superintendent, to find a
On
superintendent.
my end, the chat is disabled, but I am able to see what's posted.
To onboard a superintendent and to train with the board. This is not somebody you just talk to him for 10 minutes and done. So I don't know whether, I mean, obviously, like I said, I will be abstaining on this vote, but if I were the board, I need to make a decision. We scheduled a special meeting and see them in person last time, so I would recommend tabling this tonight, if they're not able to show up in person.
What?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Well, the comment is that in the past, we have had, at a special meeting, we have brought the firms in. We've gotten a chance to meet person to person and get a feel for what they're like. And this has been rather rushed, and understandably so, because, you know, we're just kind of behind the curve. So I guess and Member Jeong is recommending that we table this. If we were to, and you've been working with the firm, so if we were to table this, could we get a special meeting where we could get them in person? That's the question. Or what's your thought?
Yeah, I understand your concern and your question, and I think that's the typical protocol and process by which selecting a search firm. This is an important decision that you will be making. So I'm of the opinion it's better to go slow and do it right rather than going fast and get it wrong.
And ultimately, this really is the board's decision. This is an agenda item. You can choose to postpone, you can choose to move forward. I think there are pros and cons that on both sides to this, and I just want to be clear. You are on a tight timeline here. And so to make a decision today means you can start the timeline. Ultimately, again, there is no pressure coming from staff one way or the other. It is your decision as the board to move at the pace that you feel most comfortable. These are the top 3 search firms in the Bay Area. And so you do have quite a good selection here. But again, there's no pressure coming from staff one way or the other. This ultimately is the board's decision.
Mr. Torres?
So I agree with Member Jeong. I do believe that they probably are the best 3, but that presentation was like really broken, and it's no one's fault. Like, I don't want to put the blame on anyone. I just wish that maybe they can come in person to present, and maybe we can actually hear what they're saying, because it was really a little difficult to kind of follow along, and I don't think we should make a really big decision like this, because this is for a superintendent. And I don't think we should make a really big decision in such a short amount of time, especially given the presentation we received.
Member Jones?
I too feel that that it's not appropriate for us to take action on this tonight. I don't feel like we've had enough. I know I haven't had enough time to really digest the 3 proposals next to each other. It's a lot to have received so quickly. And it is a big decision, and I would prefer to wait at this point.
Member Nguyen?
I'm also in agreement.
Member Hill?
I'm in agreement. I think we should bring them in person and see if we can expedite that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm also in agreement. I think these are 3 fine firms. I don't think we would go wrong with any one of them. But I think we deserve and they deserve to be able to talk to us in person. And if it's over Zoom, it needs to be working, and so we can meet them in person and see their faces and everything. So if we can set that up early next week, I would hope that we ask them if they can come in, and we just need 24 hours to schedule a special meeting. So that would be my recommendation. Is there any day next week that the board members would not be able to be here?
I cannot be here Tuesday night.
Pardon?
I'm not available Tuesday night.
I think I'm available the other nights. I would make myself available.
So do we want to make a motion to table this and reconvene or reschedule it?
Yeah, and could you send a message to Mr. Moreno, is that his name? That because of the technical difficulties, and ask if we can reschedule for next week, Wednesday, maybe?
President Thomas, I would be more than happy. I have their cell phone numbers, and I can reach out to them this evening and let them know that, due to some technical difficulties and some other interests of the board, that this matter will be rescheduled for next week. As a retired chief HR officer, I would only suggest to you that you move this along quickly. This is a season for a recruitment time. So, again, my only recommendation is you do this within a relatively short period of time.
So Wednesday works?
But I'd be happy to reach out to the firms and let them know that it will be tabled, it's being tabled and will be rescheduled for sometime next week.
I think Wednesday's the earliest we can do it. Okay, great, thank you. So I would entertain a motion.
Do we really need a motion to table something? I think we
Well, I
can
guess
just,
we don't.
we can just move on.
We can just move on, okay. The next item on the agenda is a item brought to us by Member Hill for discussion, and it's to discuss guiding principles that can be referenced as a framework to build the best district possible.
Thank you, President Thomas. So this past weekend, many of us watched the Super Bowl. Some watched it for the commercials, others watched it for the halftime show with Rihanna, and a few watched it as an excuse to bring friends close. But deep down, many of us watched it because it is a celebration of greatness. After countless hours of hard work and sacrifice, the two best teams in the NFL came together to showcase what they had become, and it was magnificent. Every year we live vicariously through these triumphs, and if we are honest, secretly hope to reach our own personal version of this success. More importantly, we all pray that our kids achieve this and even more in their own lives. The burning question is, how do we make success happen? How do we make our dreams a reality? How do we build a school district that equips our students to overcome obstacles and march victoriously into the end zone? How do we move from being good to being great? We need a roadmap. Anyone who has studied great teams knows that they are a product of great cultures. And great cultures form guiding principles that serve both to chart a course as well as to hold teams accountable for producing results. The good news is that there is a roadmap for building a culture of success. We in NUSD just need to have the humility to learn from those who have already taken this journey and muster the courage and conviction to follow in their footsteps. Jim Collins, a researcher out of Stanford, has studied this process, and back in 2001, wrote a book called Good to Great to describe organizations that made this leap. In his initial work, he analyzed almost 1,500 companies to crack the Good to Great code. Shortly afterwards, however, he discovered that more than a third of the people who were picking up his book were from non-business professions. And so in 2005, he produced a monograph entitled Good to Great in the Social Sectors, and later in 2019 released an additional update called Turning the Flywheel. These concepts have since penetrated into parts of our educational system, and where they have taken hold have produced remarkable success. We can do the same. At a high level, Collins describes 4 stages an organization must go through to achieve greatness. The first involves getting the right leaders in place and the right people on the team. The next step involves adopting disciplined thought, where you confront the brutal facts regarding your current situation, while also envisioning what your future greatness will look like. Next comes disciplined action, where consistent applied effort turns the flywheel and ultimately produces great outcomes. And finally, the last stage focuses on the steps you take to maintain and nurture the culture of success you have now created. As Collins describes, producing greatness takes multiple rotations of the flywheel. I ask that this agenda item be brought forward this evening as a first step in breaking the inertia and getting the conversation started. After I finish, I will pass out copies of articles that discuss how good to great concepts can be applied in an educational context. For those who are interested in learning more, I recommend that you visit jimcollins.com or pick up copies of his work, some of which has been translated into Spanish, off of amazon.com. And finally, after digesting some of this, I would welcome feedback from you and the community regarding whether this approach is something we should further explore in a future study session. Achieving greatness is a process, and I am hoping if we all lean our shoulders into the flywheel, we will produce success beyond our wildest dreams. And again, I'm bringing this forward merely as a discussion point. I'm not asking for any action at this point. I'm just asking that we all do a little bit of research into this, consider it, and then bring this back at a future time. Thank you.
Any comments by board members? I would like to thank you, Member Hill, for bringing this forward. I've read Jim Collins' book twice, and I think there are lessons to be learned in it, and so I look forward to having more discussions in the future. So next we move on to Board of Education Committee reports, requests, and announcements. This time I won't forget you, Member Torres.
Some announcements. Well, the Special Olympics is tomorrow, which was already highlighted. And then there's an 8th grade parent night next Wednesday. So I hope that parents, the 8th graders, go to the high school and get some information on what their children are going to learn at the high school.
All right, thank you. Member Nguyen?
Thank you, President Thomas. I would just like to acknowledge and thank Ms. Bloom for her public comment last Monday regarding the systemic issues of bad decision-making by the board all these years. And it wasn't a reflection of Dr. Triplett and his efforts. We have had a revolving door and instability of superintendents. And stating that, and she also stated that there's been positive progress, and that positive progress shouldn't be overlooked, and she's correct. Progress over time is what creates tremendous outcomes. Things just don't instantly happen overnight. But if we keep getting rid of those that make progress, we are the only ones hurting the district and our students. So I just wanted to remind the public that, and especially our majority board right now. And then in honor of Black History Month, I want to end it with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is a great reminder for all of us, but especially for my self-serving fellow board members, Member Jeong excluded, of course. I leave you with this. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Thank you.
Thank you. Member Jones?
No, this time.
Member Jeong?
Just wish everybody have a great long weekend.
Member Hill?
Echoing Member Jeong, just wishing everybody a happy President's Day or President's Week, depending on your circumstances. Thank you.
Okay, and I plan to attend Black History event at the high school tomorrow night, where they're featuring black businesses, I believe. And we'll attend with Member Jones.
Actually, I have one more comment, if you don't mind, Member Thomas.
Sure.
I just wanted to, yesterday at Lincoln Elementary School, they had the Young Authors Award handed out to all the grade levels, which was a fun and amazing event. And it was great to see our young writers all with smiles and their families out celebrating them. And I just wanted to congratulate all the winners again. They were well-deserved, and it was wonderful to see our young kids inspired by reading and writing, so thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Member Torres?
Oh, also, and then today I was at the junior high for Puente interviews, and the Bridgepoint students were there as well, and they were giving some very helpful information to the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders about the dangers of smoking, and I thought that was really important, and I'm glad to see that the interactions between the two schools and the kids and the junior high kids were very engaged, and they were so happy to be to play with, because they had games as well, and the lines were ridiculously long, and it was so great to see all these kids so energized, and it was great to see that Bridgepoint put in this effort and put in the time to give this wonderful presentation to the students. And I would also like to thank the wonderful staff over here, because I know that I could tell it's not an easy job to be over there. So I thank you for everything that you're doing tonight. So thank you.
Yes, I also echo that. Thank you, Ms. Croce, and also Ms. Pym for filling in. And it is a hard job, and hopefully we have been gracious towards you and your efforts. So, but we really appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, and I'd like to echo that. Thank you, all of you. Oh,
Yes,
my
thank
goodness.
you.
Yeah. Committee reports. Does anyone have a committee report? I attended an ROP meeting on last week on Thursday. Also, I attended the ROP, what's called the Educators Brunch. Yeah, and there was great turnout, a great presentation, a great chance to visit classrooms to see the various programs that they're offering. And all I can say is ROP is a great organization that's doing great things with our students. And finally, board requests, Member Torres?
I do have a request. I just want to know why we changed the agenda order and this new way that we're doing it.
I don't understand what we changed. I was listening and I'm thinking, what did we change?
You were gonna take comments on the actual items. I think that was.
Yeah, and I didn't do that.
Yeah, after the fact, you were going to allow it, but I think you didn't do it. That's correct.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I didn't do is change something that was changed.
Oh, I think what happened for this meeting is we pulled the consent calendar and we immediately discussed that. While in the prior meetings, we wait until there's this designated session after new business, we discussed the pulled consent calendar.
That was something that, if you think about it, wasn't a change from our, what our methods of operation bylaw says is that, and the tradition was that we discuss the pulled items and vote on them right after the consented items. So I was confused. I didn't know what I changed.
Okay. President Thomas, can I add on to your ROP statements?
Sure.
There is a CTE, or Career Technical Education Info Session night, February 17th, tomorrow night, from 6 to 7 p.m. And there is a link for the Zoom. There's a Zoom link, and it has been publicized and sent home to families via email. So I just wanted to remind parents to go ahead and log in if their students want to register for any ROP classes next year.
That's a good idea. Any other committee reports or requests? Yes, Member Jones?
I have a request that when we make contracts with vendors, that there is an explanation of the work that is intended to be done. in several contracts that I have seen, I haven't noticed where it's been like really specifically laid out. Maybe I'm missing it, but it's something that I think is important for the board to know, that when we're approving a contract, that we know exactly what work is going to be accomplished. The other item that I wanted to bring up is regarding TOSA positions and the timing of those. And my understanding is that they're one-year contracts, and so is it something that we would bring, or that would be brought forward in terms of each year that the application process is opened up to the whole teacher population, in terms of if anybody else wants to apply for those positions, so that there's actually an application period?
Hold on. So after each request, there needs to be.
Oh, sorry.
Majority of the board approval before whether or not, it's going to be brought back to the board consideration. So
Do you mind just clarifying the request? Is the request for us to bring this as like a staff report? Is the request to bring the item to a one-to-one meeting?
Okay, I apologize. I guess they're both really questions that I need to ask one-on-one. So ignore my requests at this point.
Yes.
I have one request. I would like for staff to bring back the computers, the Chromebook agenda item that was previously pulled or shelved. I would really like to see that we're able to approve the purchase of those computers for our students, because we do need them for testing purposes. If you can bring that back.
Member Hill?
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do I have two other members who are in agreement with that?
I'm in agreement.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Thank you.
Member Hill?
I have two requests. So the first one is, Member Jeong, that today is his last meeting, and we need to start an appointment process. And I know that CSBA has put together a document that sort of advises boards on an appointment process. It's really not an appointment process. It's a vacancy process. And so, and I think that it provides some good background. We would probably need to customize it for our purposes. But my request is that we work with staff to schedule a meeting to possibly a study session or maybe a special session to talk about how we set up a vacancy process to fill the vacancy. And maybe we can combine it with the meeting next week, I'm not sure.
That makes sense. I appreciate that.
And just a clarification, just a logistical thing, we can't officially start until Member Jeong has submitted his documents to the county. Has that already been done?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because in the meeting, I announced my departure as end of this month. So after doing research, it's just you send an email saying resign effectively today, then done.
Okay, great. Okay, would it be possible for you just to let somebody know so that we know that, yeah, okay, great.
Well, you definitely can start the process on March 1st because I made the public announcement. Right?
Okay, thank you.
So did I hear you say that you put in your resignation effective today?
He's going.
Well, February 28th.
February 20th, okay, thank you.
So do we have support for holding a session to plan for filling the vacancy? Okay, great. So, and then the second request is, so Brian Foster came here this evening, and he's made prior appearances, but he first came here basically expressing concern around Apex and how Apex was being used in the schools. And he made a few appearances, but ultimately, I think that there was resistance or not an interest in pursuing that. But then, quite frankly, there were actions that seem, at least from my perspective, to have been taken in retaliation afterwards. And I think that he's given us information. And if you all recall, back in May, as these were starting to emerge, I had warned the board and the district that it is illegal to retaliate against whistleblowers. And yet we've ignored this, and I think that we're now in legal jeopardy. And again, and even if we weren't, we shouldn't be allowing the use of legal resources against people who are speaking out, who have concerns about things that are going on in the district. We should be listening to what their concerns are rather than trying to retaliate against them. And so my request is that we have a meeting in closed session to discuss the Brian Foster. I mean, he says that there's been an investigation. It's now been reported to the CTC. Apparently, he's going to potentially lose his license. This is all very troubling, and I think that we need to talk about this as a board. So that's my request.
Again, that's overreaching on our part as a board. I'm not in agreement. We've already allowed staff to do their due diligence and investigation on this personnel issue, and basically you're going against that. So just wanted to let you know.
I don't think that we've seen the details of this.
Again, it's a personnel issue.
You're
getting into the weeds, Member Hill.
Which we're responsible for.
Yes, our one employee is the superintendent. Thank you.
I feel that the superintendent should drive anything of this nature.
Thank you, President Thomas. I am in agreement with you.
Okay, so any other comments, Member Jones? I have two requests. One is we decided at our board meeting when we did our beginning of the year board, what did they call it? Organizational meeting, that's what I was looking for. That we would have a different calendar, a different day of the week to meet beginning in the next fiscal year. And so I think we need to have a calendar brought forward for approval, calendar dates for the rest of the year. We have calendar dates through June or July, so we need it for the second half of the year. And sometimes we even take it through the beginning of or the first half of the next year. And the other thing is that with Member Jeong leaving the board, we don't have an ROP member alternate. And so I would hope that we could put that on the agenda and that one of the board members would volunteer to be that alternate. And perhaps save that to see if the new member, when we appoint one, wants to take that role. So those are my. Yeah, the calendar, is everyone okay with the calendar? Is everyone okay with the alternate? Okay. So, given that, the next order of business is, no, I don't think so, we're just giving direction. So next, it's the acting superintendent's closing remarks.
All right. Well, tonight and really this week has not been without its glitches. But I think that we have really focused on the big things this week. And so while there has been some technical difficulties tonight, we've got multiple people holding multiple positions. And I think, again, despite those glitches, what I'm really proud about is that we focused on rebuilding relationships, establishing new relationships, and really holding up our community. So I just want to thank the board for the opportunity this week. And I'm sure I'll have more opportunities, especially working with our new interim superintendent. And so I appreciate you. And again, I want to end just by thanking Member Jeong for his service, for the beautiful speech tonight. And we wish you the best of luck in all of your future endeavors.
With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will second that.
Okay. Motion by Member Torres, second by Member Jean to adjourn the meeting. Please vote.
Voting is open.
You're gonna have to take an oral from me. Just take a.
Yeah.
Are we
everyone.
all, can I just
All
make
in
it a
favor?
unanimous? It's unanimous.
Yes, it is unanimous.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.